Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the WLBB Community Voice program on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. I'm your host today, Sara Claudia Cain, and as always, I hope everybody is having a wonderful start to your Wednesday so far. I'm very excited for today's interview. I have my good friend Kimberly Farmer in the studio with me today, and Kimberly has faced various health challenges throughout her entire life, but she has remained faithful, and today she's going to share that journey with us. Kimberly, thank you so much for being with us today, and why don't you go ahead and take a minute to introduce yourself to our listeners?
Thank you for having me, Sara Claudia. This is an exciting time. My name is Kimberly Farmer. I grew up in Carrollton, was born and raised here, and I'm married to Shay Farmer, and we have a daughter who is Josie, and she is a senior at Oak Mountain Academy this year. So we've been on the college tour lately, so that's what's going on with our family right now and where we are.
Yeah, that's always a busy but exciting time.
Yes, exactly.
Well, as I mentioned, you've had various health challenges throughout your life. So can you tell our listeners a little about how that all started?
Sure. I was born with a tethered spinal cord, and what that means is that my spinal cord, my cord was wrapped around the spine, and it had a spina bifida type patch, but they weren't sure. I had no other significant issues other than I did not have an arch in my right foot. And so they put a cast on me. Miraculously, I was sent over to Piedmont and was put under the care of a wonderful doctor, Dr. Robert Wells, who was an orthopedic surgeon, and he said, we're just going to watch her. So I was fine, developed well, walked until third grade when I started developing severe leg pains. And they put me, Dr. Wells got me in with a Dr. Smith over at Emory, and they just went in as an exploratory surgery to see what was going on with me. And when they got in there, they found that the cord was wrapped around my cord was wrapped around the spine, and it was keeping it from growing. So they went in and snipped it, and it went back into place. And after that, I didn't have any problems walking or anything until around fourth grade, fifth grade, and I started developing a kyphosis, and which is where you go, your lungs, your spinal cord goes in rather than the S, the scoliosis. It's more of a backwards C. So Dr. Wells, they just let me develop as long as they could, and they decided fifth grade they were going to go in and do a fusion, and he wasn't sure about it, so he took all of my records to California to a conference with him, put a team together, and brought them back, and they performed the surgery. I was in a body cast from April until September of that year, flat of my back, couldn't walk, and I was surrounded by friends and family. It was just incredible. And after they took the body cast off, they put a walking cast on, and I had to relearn to walk, and I went back to school that way. And after that, I developed fine and did whatever I wanted to do. I played sports, I worked out in the gym, and then around the age of 40, I started developing numbness in my left leg and began to lose the use of that leg. And so it's just been a progression. Dr. Wells did say that if it reared its ugly head, it would be around the age of 40, and that's insane because I was probably 12 when he said that to me. Mm-hmm. So now when I'm out and about, I'm mostly in a wheelchair. I walk with a cane short distances, like I was able to walk in here with my cane. But it's been a steady progression of being in a chair and navigating life from that angle.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's an amazing journey, something to have to start dealing with something like that so young. And was this something that when your mother was pregnant with you, did she know that this was, I don't know what the technology was then, or was it when you were born they figured all this out?
Right. Wasn't until birth
Okay.
that they knew about this. So.
Okay. And being so young, I think about, you said you were in, was it 5th grade when you were in the body cast?
Yes.
Do you remember a lot from that time? Like, how do you deal with something like that when you're so young and just being stuck, like you said, in bed, flat on your back?
Oh yeah, I remember a lot about it. I was just surrounded by fantastic people. We had a hospital bed. Mom and Dad would carry me back every night to the bedroom, and every day I had people from the community brought me all of the beds until we found a bed that worked for me. And I made a quilt that summer. I mean, during that time, I had friends that took turns coming to sit with me. It was just an incredible time. I was surrounded by, God just surrounded me with people who were always there. One of the funniest stories that happened to me during that time was for me to be able to breathe. Of course, the stomach area I had a little opening there. Mm-hmm. And one of our dear, dear friends was a Frito-Lay guy. Mm. And my favorite thing were Funyuns. And he would bring me Funyuns. And of course, I mean, I was laying there, I ate. Well, I wasn't exercising, so I got too big for my cast. And so Dr. Wells was exactly the doctor I needed. I need no-nonsense people in my life. I deal with them best. And he was like, well, she has to go on a hamburger patty and water diet because we cannot take the cast off because that could ruin everything, all the work. And so that was one of the funniest things that happened to me while I was in my cast. But no, I was always surrounded by... It was an amazing thing because when I went back to school in the fall in the walking cast, I was emaciated. I was in that body cast, and never one time did any of my fellow students say anything negative. Never did they joke. The only thing that was one of the funny guys in our class was like, man, we need to wear these out on the football field. And they would tap my cast. Aww. So God just always surrounded me. He's always surrounded me with people who were supportive.
That's definitely a blessing because it can be hard when you're set apart, you're different. You already feel different when you're that young and you're trying to learn how to interact with peers, but having such a big difference, it's a blessing that, your peers interacted with you, even if it was sometimes in that loving, joking way rather than just kind of not knowing what to do and ignoring you.
Yeah. Oh no, they always made me feel like I was part of the gang. And I had my 6th grade teacher took her PE time, which if you're a teacher, you know how valuable that is to you. And because I couldn't, of course, go to PE, and they wouldn't even let me go because they were afraid, I could get knocked down or whatever. She taught me to needlepoint. She taught me to draw. She taught me to watercolor paint. Wow. So she gave of herself the entire year that I was in that body cast. It was just she was a beautiful person.
Yeah, definitely thankful for that community you were surrounded by. And we are going to take a short break to hear from our sponsors, Tanner Health System and Oak Mountain Academy, but we'll be right back to hear more from Kimberly Farmer and her journey. Stay tuned.
Oak Mountain Academy is an innovative school of academic excellence celebrating over 61 years. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to join us on the mountain to see our mission and vision in action. Academic excellence, a faith-based environment, and dynamic opportunities are just a few of the reasons our families choose Oak Mountain Academy. Academic scholarships and tuition assistance are available. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. I'm your host, Sara Claudia Cain, here with our guest, Kimberly Farmer, who is sharing with us her various health challenges she's had throughout her life. And before we went to the break, you were telling us about how you had to wear a body cast when you were about in 5th grade for a full year or close to a full year.
Close to it. Yeah.
Okay. And then you went to a walking cast. And I'm curious to know, before we kind of get into the impacts on your life today, when you started healing from that, and you said you had many years where more or less you were able to kind of do whatever you want and function normally, did that make you more thankful of your abilities? And did you want to just go out and try to do everything you could, knowing that it would be only a limited time before, your condition would start causing problems again?
Yeah, yes and no. I think that I was more determined to do things that, because just to say that I could, because of all of the lapse, and the concern and people saying, well, you can't do that or you shouldn't do that. Dr. Wells always said, if it doesn't hurt, do it. That was always his mantra with me, so I always took that to heart. And I was very much a gym rat and worked out as much as I could, even did a few weightlifting competitions. I was always pretty strong in lifting. So I just pursued that and did that. But yeah, probably a little more determined than I should have been, Sara Claudia.
Well, I completely understand that. Anytime somebody doubts, being blind, they're like, oh, I don't know if you should do that. I'm like, well, watch me. So
exactly.
I definitely understand that. And you mentioned it a little bit in the last segment, but I want to talk more about the impact on your life today. Your mobility concerns. How does this impact your day-to-day life?
Well, over the past 2-3 years, since breast cancer, chemo seemed to have, it did not, the spinal cord did not react well to the chemo. So I was diagnosed in 2018 with breast cancer and went through chemo and radiation with that and a lumpectomy. And so since then, I've seen a decline, if you want to call it. I don't like that word, but I have. And I had to kind of swallow pride a little bit and realize that it was a safer situation for me to be in a wheelchair rather than, try to push myself. So that has affected me. In that regard, I have been to Shepherd's and had treatment there, been in therapy there, physical therapy, and actually saw a pain specialist there who, when I walked in, he walked in the door and saw us, and he looked at the x-ray, and then he looked at the nurse and he was like, this is not her. I need her x-rays. And the nurse said, that is her. Those are her x-rays. And he looked at me and he said, there is no way you should even be sitting up in this chair. And so I think that, in seeking that, I think that I was really, when I first started realizing that I was going to need the chair, it was more of a mental struggle, really, than anything, because I had been so able-bodied, so to speak, even though I had a little limitation. And this same physician sent me to a friend of his who was very difficult to get in with. He's very difficult to get in with. He said, I can get you in with him. He'll see you at 7:15 one morning. He's there at Piedmont as well. And Shay and I, we went to see him. We were there at 7:15. I let myself get really excited because I had read up on this guy's work and his area and what he had been able to accomplish with paralysis and spinal cord issues. And when we got in the office and were in the patient room, one of his PAs came out, and he said, he has looked at your films, and he said, there is nothing else we can do for you. I'm very sorry. And I think at that point in my life, that was one of the hardest moments, but it was one of the best moments for me, because I realized that was just God showing me I was chasing something that I shouldn't be chasing, healing here and not healing in the right way. Yeah. And so from that moment on, I had all of this stress that was even pre-cancer. All of the stress I was frustrated about, and I just let it go. And I realized that I shouldn't be chasing that kind of healing, that God would bring me the kind of healing that I needed. And he gave me a peace, and I'm in a much better place emotionally and mentally, and I deal with the day much better. I know he's going to take me through whatever that I face. So that was my moment of, even though it was devastating, it was clarifying, and it was healing in and of itself.
Yeah. I think when you were talking, I was thinking about people I know who have declining vision. I kind of related it to that because, you can function to a certain degree, but as it continues to decline, there has to be that moment of acceptance where you're like, okay, I need help. My body's not working like it used to, and I need to accept this and let myself receive the help that I need, whether it's spiritual or physical, using that cane, using that wheelchair. So it sounds like you came to the same kind of realization.
Oh, yeah. And I think in that acceptance, there's freedom once you realize. And too, we were talking about the determination. My whole life I was determined, like you said, oh, yeah, watch me. And I think it shouldn't be watch me. It should be watch what God can do and what he does through us. And I think once you accept that freedom in living in what he does. And I think one of the beauties for me is that he has always shown up in my life in ways that were unabashedly him. When Shay and I were, when they told me I probably would never be able to get pregnant, and if I did, I wouldn't be able to carry full term. And we did at the ripe old age of 40. And so when we were in Dr. Helton's office, they could not let me go into labor. They planned a C-section early. And so I'll never forget it, Dr. Helton took his calendar and he opened it up to May. And Shay has a necklace, and his football jersey number was 23, and he has 23 on his jersey number. And Dr. Helton randomly, had no idea, pointed 23. Where it's going to be May 23rd. That's when she's coming. And while I was going through the treatment for breast cancer, we decided that we were going to go to MD Anderson for a second opinion. And I was told, Randy Pierce, I cannot say enough about Randy Pierce here. He's a phenomenal physician. They wanted me to get in treatment, but they encouraged me to, go on to MD Anderson and get a second opinion, which we did. But we want you to do it fast, and we don't know if you can do it fast enough. We want you to be in treatment quickly. And I was going into a Bible study. I called MD Anderson that morning. The girl said, we'll see what we can do. When I got out of the Bible study, my phone had blown up with calls. It was MD Anderson calling me back. And so they were getting me in for the next week. And the girl gave me my patient ID number, and the last 4 digits of that number was 2323. And that was just another sign to me. And then when I was at Tanner for my lumpectomy, waiting for them to call me back into the short stay unit, my pager number was 23. So I'm a firm believer that God speaks to us in the ways that we know, that we understand that he is there and he surrounds us. And there's just so many, I can't even speak to the amazing ways that he spoke to me. He woke me up, and I say that I had no symptoms from my cancer. I hadn't noticed it. I had had my mammogram. I'd had my regular exam. And I woke up in the middle of one night, and my hand was pressed up against my breast, and the colors in the room were colors I've never seen in my entire life, and I don't think I'll ever see them on this earth again. I truly feel like he pulled the veil back and let me see what I couldn't see here, and showed me. And I called the next morning, got in that day, and I truly believe that he is with us, and he shows us himself all around us, and he's here walking with us and taking care of us. So I've just had so many instances of who he is in my walk.
Yeah, he definitely speaks to us in ways that are significant to us, than that he knows we're going to understand. Thank you so much for sharing so far. We're going to take a short break to hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back to hear more of Kimberly Farmer's journey. Stay tuned.
The AP Scholar Journey at Oak Mountain Academy is designed to provide students with a clearly defined advanced placement curriculum track to earn a series of distinctions upon graduation. This journey enables academically prepared students to pursue college-level studies throughout 17 AP courses in 5 subject categories while enrolled at OMA. I'm Patrick Uran, head of school, inviting you to journey with us on the mountain. For more information, visit us at oakmountain.us. Discover your journey at OMA. Prepare, explore, and achieve.
Health is a journey. It's making better choices, even when it's not easy. It's taking care of yourself and the people you love. At Tanner Health System, we're there for you with every step, with primary care, heart care, cancer care, women's care, orthopedics, surgical services, and so much more. We're dedicated to helping you live and feel your best. So let's get on that journey to health. You've got places to be for many years to come. Find us at tanner.org.
Welcome back to the WLBB Community Voice program here on News Talk 1330 FM 106.3. I'm Sara Claudia Cain here with our amazing guest, Kimberly Farmer, who has been sharing her health journey with us and all the challenges she's faced, but how it ultimately allowed her to see God and see life in a whole new way. Now, you've been telling us how you, from the time you were born, dealt with tethered spine and the complications from that. And then you mentioned in the last segment that you were diagnosed with cancer back in 2018, I believe you said. And I know we have a lot of listeners who feel like life can sometimes knock us down over and over again. And I'm wondering if that's how you felt. You know, you've gone through all these challenges, and then you get diagnosed with cancer. What was your mindset like during that time?
All of the emotions that anybody, why this? Why now? You go through all the emotions as a mother. Will I be there for her? And what does this all mean? But so you have to dig in deep. I was, and I can't say enough about my husband. He was phenomenal. He was with me every step of the way. He, at every doctor's appointment, reading up, and we were just determined to walk through it and take it as it came. And I think that my journey with my back and spine and all kind of had helped me. It strengthened me a little bit through that. I have a phenomenal Sunday school class. We're members at Tabernacle here in town, and I can't say enough about my Sunday school class and the people there, all of our beautiful congregation and our friends, and they surrounded us with love, and that helped tremendously. Just the calls, the cards, the text and people coming to you who had already walked the journey. I have a precious friend, Jatan, who had already walked the journey, several of my friends there, and so they were lights and strength to me.
Yeah, having that support system is so important. And before you said that, your past maybe helped you handle your journey with cancer, I was thinking that, sometimes it's helpful for me to look back and say, okay, God's gotten me through that. He'll get me through this as well. Is that kind of how you felt in your relationship with Christ at that time?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I look at that now as well. Oh, yeah, I felt like he was, and I constantly felt like he was putting people in my path that was just only he could orchestrate. You couldn't plan the things. Dr. Z here in town was absolutely incredible. We're very fortunate to have him here in Carrollton, I feel. So always felt, and again, I'd already said Randy Pierce and the nurses and the staff at the infusion center. I can't say enough about how they treat you with dignity and love, and I feel like I'm friends with them. So I think that's very important.
Yeah. This community that we're in, that's what I hear time and time again from my guests is how much support they receive from the community. And we've heard all throughout your story how much you relied on your faith, just looking out for those little signs from God and getting connected with your church family and just really relying on His strength. And I am so thankful that you were willing to share this story with us today. And as we get ready to end our time, I want to just ask you for any advice or guidance you would give to somebody, facing health challenge, facing cancer, facing any type of hardship.
I thought a lot about this question and prayed about it. I think the realization that you can't do it on your own, that we're not made to do it on our own. We're made to be part of a community. And I feel, just like you just said, this community that we live in, the people that we're surrounded by, is vital. Lean on them, because I find that even though I was frightened, nervous to go out in shopping in town in a chair all by myself, I was determined to do it. It never fails. There's always someone there willing to help. People are always there, and people are always willing to help, and God is always going to put those people in our path. So my advice is, don't try to do it on your own. Look around and expect God to show up with people in your life to help you.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I've had that experience too, going out with my cane or my guide dog and just having those moments where I need to be vulnerable and ask for help. And there's always somebody around in this community. Even for me, if I don't see them, as soon as I reach out, there's always somebody there. So very thankful for that. Thankful for you and your story and how God has worked and is using you to show His light, and how He can always give us those blessings, those moments of peace and moments of clarity, even in those dark circumstances. So thank you, Kimberly, so much for being here with us today. Thank you, everybody, for listening. As always, I will see you guys next time here on Community Voice.